Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Cyril Jefferson convening a regular meeting of the High Point City Council. Here with me on the dais, we have every member of council present, save Councilmember Peters. We also wish our city manager well in her absence. We'll just ask if you all don't mind joining us for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In terms of moving into adopt our agenda, I would note there is a need to amend our agenda to add an item to the general business section regarding funding for the Coltrane House. I'll make a motion to adopt our agenda with that addition. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, recognize the Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Our first few items are some recognitions and proclamations. And just last week, several of us had the opportunity to gather at the High Point Country Club for the Extraordinary Educators Luncheon. And I don't know if any of our educators had the chance to make it out this evening. Will you please join me up front, and will you all clap for them as they come on up? It's good to see you again. Will you remind us of your name and what school you're representing?
My name is Louisa Abdullah. I'm a third grade teacher at Kirkman Park Elementary.
Kirkman Park Elementary, okay. And will you remind us?
Conley Henry, and I teach music at Shady Brook.
At Shady Brook, okay, awesome. Thank y'all for being here. Any other educators with us here this evening? All right, I'm going to recognize the folks from High Point Schools Partnership, Don Spencer, Dr. Joe Blosser. We appreciate you all being here and the work that you all do with High Point Schools Partnership. The city decided roughly, I guess, a couple of years ago that we wanted to ensure we could be partners when it comes to endeavors like this one, and we've been supportive of the High Point Schools Partnership ever since. And shout out, I know there's several of my colleagues were there as well. Amanda showed us that she's got a side hustle as a late night comedian, actually. That was pretty good, Amanda. Yeah, that was pretty good. All right. We've got awards for you all, and actually, I'll go ahead and give these to you all since you're here. And the rest of them, Don, we'll give to you all to be able to give those educators, if you don't mind. So I'm going to read this proclamation. If you all want to read it alongside, feel free to. Whereas the schools of our city are comprised of exceptional educators, and whereas they seize the opportunities to uplift their students and remind students of their worth and potential. And whereas through their commitment to their schools, this group of extraordinary educators has earned the respect and trust of their colleagues. Whereas these educators were formally recognized on August 14, 2025 by their community, which includes the High Point Schools Partnership, the Peters Foundation, and other supporters. These educators are Allen J. Elementary with Justin Barrelow, T. Wingate Andrews High with Javon Johnson, Ferndale Middle with Raven Walker, High Point Central High with Kanice Wright, Kearns Academy with Margaret Wilmoth, Middle College at GTCC High Point, Faith Johnson, Northwood Elementary, Molly Reeves, Oakview Elementary, Zachary Mayhew, Penn Griffin School for the Arts, Marjorie Carrasco, Southwest Guilford Elementary, Courtney Bradner, Southwest Guilford Middle, Danielle Swagler, Triangle Lake Montessori, Ashley Harrell, Welborn Academy of Science and Technology, Diana Smith, Allen J. Prep, Jessica Teschke, Fairview Elementary, Rachel Malatesta, Florence Elementary, Kristen Porter, Johnson Street Global Studies, Denise Hughes, Kirkman Park Elementary, help me out one more time.
Louisa Abdullah.
That's the privilege of being here. You get to make sure I say it right. Louisa Abu Khalaf. Did I say that right? Was that better? Okay. Montlou Academy of Technology, Natalia Gibson. Oak Hill Elementary, Brittany Clark. Parkview Village Elementary, Olivia Hennett. Shady Brook Elementary, Carly Henry. Southwest Guilford High, Amy Bruner Day Rodriguez. Sylvia Mendez Newcomers, Colleen Dunst. And Union Hill Elementary, Jamie Jones. Can we please clap it up for these incredible educators on the side? And I know we had a few folks walk in as we were reading. Did any other educators join us just now? I want to make sure that we can celebrate you and recognize you up front. Okay, all right. Well, let's get ready to take a picture. Can I invite the hot?
You want to read the bottom?
That is important, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. That's why you have Mayor Pro Tems, y'all. Get you one. Now, therefore, I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby recognize these extraordinary educators in the City of High Point and call upon the community to join me in personally expressing appreciation for our extraordinary educators for a job well done. All right. Can I invite the folks from High Point Schools Partnership up to join us as well? And are there any principals here? Can I invite up principals as well? Since you're in the middle, I'm gonna ask you to hold back.
One, two, three, four, five, six. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I am also excited because we get to recognize some of our own. And oftentimes in the City of High Point, when we talk about the great work that we do, it's easy to see some of the external parts of the city. You see the folks who do public safety, maybe you see the construction happening in the city. But what you're not oftentimes maybe hearing about are the folks who ensure that every single building you go into meets code and is safe. And I remember going to School of Government when we first got elected, Mike and Tyrone. We were all there. I was paying attention. Y'all were asleep, though.
Is that what happened?
And, no, you were asleep. I remember. It's okay. And, or maybe Tyrone was asleep, actually. And the first thing they say to us is, if you're an elected official in the state of North Carolina, there's a lot of things you don't actually have to do, but there's one thing you have to do as an elected official. And you have to ensure building safety. And if you go to a council meeting, bang that gavel, and close it out, and you didn't do anything else but one thing, you have to ensure building safety. And these folks who help us do that are so critical to our jobs and critical to every single person. You walk in a building in this city, and you don't think about it falling on your head. And that's good. We want you to have that confidence, but it doesn't happen without these folks. So I want to invite up all of our folks from our inspection staff. Will you please join me up front? And will we please clap for them as they come on up? So this is to recognize Inspections Department staff members for winning the North Carolina Building Inspectors Association Barry Gupton Award. 6 City of High Point staff members were awarded the North Carolina Building Inspectors Association Barry Gupton Award. This award is given to individuals or organizations who have made outstanding contributions to the mission of the North Carolina Building Inspectors Association or the advancement of the North Carolina State Building Codes. Nominations are submitted to the awards nomination committee for consideration, with awards presented at the association's annual conference. This year, the Barry Gupton Award was given to 90 code officials who were deployed to the western part of the state following Hurricane Helene. The recipients were nominated by the president of the North Carolina Building Inspectors Association for their dedication and willingness to serve affected jurisdictions during this time of need. The city staff members recognized were fire inspectors Nathan Lambeth. Who's Nathan? Thank you, Nathan. Chris, is it Lounsbury? Okay, thank you. Former Code Enforcement Officer Zachary Frank. who recently relocated. Okay, I should have kept reading. Code Enforcement Supervisor Donald Clodfelter. Assistant Fire Marshal David Welch. And Inspections Administrator Chris Whaley. Welch and Whaley both served on multiple deployments. We're recognizing these inspection department personnel, staff members, for winning the North Carolina Building Inspectors Association Barry Gupton Award. Will you all please join me in celebrating these incredible awards? All right, we're gonna pause for a picture, right? Let's have the award in the middle. Okay. Someone hold up.
Together a little bit, like each other. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Is Miss Sturdivant here? How are you doing today?
Okay, how are you?
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Ms. Sturdivant is representing MS Consulting Solutions, and this is a proclamation for Black Business Month. Whereas Black Business Month celebrated each August stands as a national observance that highlights and uplifts the invaluable contributions of Black-owned businesses to the cultural, economic, and social fabric of our communities. And whereas the city of High Point, North Carolina is home to a growing and thriving network of Black entrepreneurs, visionaries, and trailblazers who are not only shaping local economies, but also inspiring the next generation of leaders. And whereas Black-owned businesses in our community have made remarkable strides in advancing equity, leadership development, economic opportunity, and community transformation, both within our city and beyond. And whereas these businesses provide professional expertise, mentorship, brand boosting development, culturally relevant strategies, and empowerment tools that lift underserved communities while demonstrating the power of collective action, resilience, and innovation. And whereas the success of Black businesses is vital to the health of our local economy and an essential part of High Point's continued growth and inclusive future, now therefore I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim the month of August 2025 as Black Business Month in the City of High Point and proudly honor the achievements and ongoing legacy of Black-owned businesses in High Point, North Carolina. We urge residents, institutions, and leaders across the region to intentionally support, celebrate, empower, and invest in Black businesses and organizations, not only during the month of August, but throughout the entire year. Can we please give it up for this occasion? You step to the center. And what I'm going to do is, I know Ms. Sturdivant was mentioned, but are there any other Black entrepreneurs in the room? If so, will you please join me up front? If you have founded Black-led nonprofits as well, I'm going to invite you up too. Can we please clap for them as they come forward, y'all? Mike, you gonna come down? Tim, you gonna come down? Sure. Vicky looking nervous. Hold on. Yeah, come on down. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Here, you're in the middle, I think. Come get you, hold it.
All right, right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Thank y'all. Dr. Fuller, will you stay up here with me? Is there anyone else from the NAACP who you'd like to be up here? Will anyone else who's from the NAACP, will you all please join us up front? Oh, it's supposed to be this, not that. We'll get it. All right. Whereas August 6, 2025 marks the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. And whereas the Voting Rights Act is a landmark achievement in the fight for civil rights, it enacted critical protections to combat discriminatory voting practices that had long disenfranchised Black and other communities of color. And whereas the act outlawed discriminatory practices such as literacy tests and poll taxes, these practices had been used to prevent eligible citizens, particularly African Americans in the South, from voting. And whereas the act's passage and enforcement led to a dramatic increase in voter registration and participation among Black citizens. It also led to a significant rise in the number of Black individuals elected to office, especially in states with a history of discrimination. And whereas the act has been reauthorized multiple times and expanded, it now prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or language minority status in registration and voting nationwide. It also provides protections for blind voters and voters with disabilities. And whereas challenges to voting rights still exist today, these include discriminatory voter ID laws, restrictions on voter registration, cuts to early voting, unjust voter purges, and the elimination of polling places in underserved communities. And whereas the Supreme Court weakened key provisions of the act in 2013, and anti-voter legislation has surged. This has impacted eligible voters, particularly racial minorities, the poor, and young and old voters. And whereas the struggle for a fully inclusive and equitable democracy continues, it demands an ongoing commitment to defending and expanding the right to vote for all citizens. Now, therefore, I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim August 6, 2025 as the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act in the City of High Point, and declare that this proclamation signifies the city's support and commitment to securing equal access to the ballot box for every citizen. Can we please celebrate this incredible occasion? You got the NAACP shirt on. You,
Take the sticky note off.
give me 1 second. Sorry. Got a little something there. Sorry about that. Your name, Jessica.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, I didn't think about it till later. Thank you. Thank you all for celebrating with us, and just want to acknowledge, in light of our extraordinary educators, we have a lot of kids going back to school this month, and we want to keep them in our thoughts and in our prayers for a safe and very productive school year all across this country. For the college students, K-12 students, early, what's it called? Early childhood, sorry, I apologize. Early childhood young people. We want to make sure that everyone can have a great year, and we appreciate every single person who contributes to that in a very meaningful way. All right, next on our agenda is our consent agenda. And having seen what's in our agenda, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Moore, second by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on the motion to approve our consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next is our first general business item. Item 2025-339, public hearing regarding an ordinance to demolish a dwelling at 115 Briggs Place. Council is requested to conduct this public hearing, adopt an ordinance to demolish the dwelling, and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute all necessary documents. With that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and acknowledge Kaylee Parrish, our code enforcement manager.
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. So the complaint notice of hearing was held on July 3rd, 2023. The order to repair or demolish was issued on July 31st, 2023, with a compliance due date of August 31st, 2023. That last bullet is not right. So as of August 1st, the new property owner, Mr. Riano, came in and obtained a permit, a residential construction permit, to try and make repairs. So at that time, the permit that was submitted was incomplete. Mr. Riano sat down with me today and we discussed what was needed in order to get the issuance of this permit. And he is in the process of getting the permit. As of today, he's came in and obtained all proper paperwork. And in discussion with Mr. Riano, he does want to make the repairs to the home. So I have asked him to submit the acknowledgement of requirements for additional time to repair the property form. And I asked him to have that completed timeline to me by Friday for review before moving forward with an agreement on the demolition ordinance.
Ms. Parrish, thank you. To clarify, are you asking us to table this decision to demolish? Or are you asking us to make the decision, and then if he brings in paperwork, staff can adjust from there? Which are you asking for?
Yes, sir. I'm asking for the adoption of the demolition ordinance, and when he comes in and provides the sufficient paperwork, then I would, table it for now. And if he does make the necessary repairs, I would ask for the repeal of the demolition ordinance.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Just for clarification, this is the same that we saw at the Community Development Committee, and at that time, he was not in compliance, but he's come forward to get to where we are to this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? In review of the sign-in sheet, we don't have anyone who's opted to sign in to speak, but is there anyone here who wishes to speak for or against this item? Yes, sir. Will you please come forward to the lectern here? We'll ask that you state your name for the record, and then you can speak to council about the issue.
My name is Edgar Vasquez Riano. I'm the owner of the 115 Bricks. I understand the frustration that you guys are having with it. I'm the new owner. I'm here, I'm showing up. I'm the one trying to do the work of it. Prior to the purchase, I didn't do my research on the property, and it had problems. I mean, I saw what it was, but I did not know that the city was trying to demolish it or anything. But other than that, I mean, I'm here, I'm present, I'm trying to do the work. And like Ms. Cowley said, I'm in talks with her about getting permits.
Mr. Vasquez, if you hold on for a bit, I just want to see, are there any questions from council for Mr. Vasquez?
Are you a contractor as well?
I am not. I've done constructions for about 15 years. In the past 5 years, I've actually been working at IHFC doing remodels in their bottom floor.
Well, I think anytime we go through these appointments, there's a time frame with which you have the ability to come back and get things going forward. So hopefully you can do that and repair the property. We'd much rather see that than demolish it.
Yes, like I said, I'm here, I didn't know about it, but as soon as I found out, I'm trying to work it out.
Any other comments from council or questions for Mr. Vasquez? Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against this item? If not, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and ask if there is a motion on this item.
So move.
Second.
Motion's recognized Mayor Pro Tem Moore, second to Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on the motion? I would say just before we vote, Mr. Vasquez, that just to clarify here, this council is always in favor of folks being able to renovate their properties. And over the years, I can tell you, I've seen a number of them where we approve this, and then owners go and do what they've got to do working with staff, and it gets rescinded. It happens actually pretty regularly. But it is important for us, as stewards of the public trust, you just heard me talk a bit about building safety. It is important for us to ensure that. It's important for us to also ensure that every neighborhood, regardless of where people live, they feel that everyone's held to certain standards, and we continue that quality of life. But we do support you, and I know our team will continue to be available to you. All right. This time, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Parrish. Thank you, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you.
Next item is item 2025-357, consideration of an appointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Council is requested to confirm the appointment of Dallas Clark to the Parks and Rec Commission, term effective immediately and expiring July 1st, 2028. Any discussion on this? If not, then we'll entertain a motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Holmes, second by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on this motion to approve this appointment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next items, item 2025-358, consideration of an appointment to the High Point Theater Advisory Commission. Council is requested to confirm the appointment of Holly Davis to this commission with a term effective immediately and expiring on June 1st, 2028. Just to be clear, the last one was July 1st, this one's June 1st. Madam Deputy Clerk, just want to confirm that we're still good on those dates there. Still good? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is recognized to Councilmember Cook, seconds recognized to Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and that passes. Item 2025-359, consideration of reappointments to the Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority. Council is requested to confirm the reappointments of John Bensini and John Thomas to Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority. Each term will begin on October 1st of this year and expire on September 30th in the year 2028. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second recognized to Councilmember McKeever. Welcome. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. The next item is one that's going to take a little discussion. This is consideration of funding for the Coltrane House. And I'll go ahead and basically read what the motion is. I'll ask for a second. We can have discussion. If we feel like we then need to table it because there's unreadiness, that can absolutely happen too. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear on this. So I'll go ahead and make it in the form of a motion. Make a motion to approve that the City of High Point commits $200,000 in funding for the rehabilitation of the John Coltrane House, contingent upon completion of a request for proposals process to identify an entity to operate and program the space, and the securing of at least $200,000 in matching private funds towards the final construction costs necessary to obtain a certificate of occupancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second recognized to Councilmember Johnson. At this time, let's open the floor for some discussion. Councilmember Andrew?
Yes, so just for clarification for the public, from my understanding, this home has received a $250,000 grant in the 2020-2021 timeframe
From the state.
from the state.
Yep.
So that's taxpayer money, and then we're possibly committing another $200,000, so about $450,000 of taxpayer money on top of the $200,000 that they're going to bring up. That seems to be quite a bit for one home.
Yeah, that's a great point. What I say to that, Councilmember Andrew, is that the home was built almost 100 years ago, I think roughly 90, 95 years ago, somewhere in that range. And it's a home that, childhood home to John Coltrane. It's seen many owners over the years. And unfortunately, in that time, different things have happened to the home. There was a fire at that house, if I'm not mistaken, which did pretty significant damage to it. And when the city acquired it roughly 20 years ago, I think it was, 15 to 20 years ago.
2005, I think.
Okay, 2005, okay, 19, 20 years ago.
According to staff, I asked them earlier. I didn't pull that out of my brain. So.
Thank you, Councilmember Harmon. At the time when it was secured, it was because there was a lot of sentiment from the public who wanted to ensure that the house, which folks saw as an asset, could be under city control. Folks were worried that if the city did get control of it, then further bad things could happen, another fire or something of that nature. And so there's been quite an effort for the past several years There was a resident living in the home up until, I think it was late 2018. And then in 2019, a group of volunteer citizens, at the time I was one of those volunteer citizens, helped to organize a committee to do a lot of work on that. And that led to the funding that came from the state. There's been a historical marker put out there, and a number of other things that have happened. But to your point, in terms of how expensive it is, to my knowledge, and I'm no preservation expert, we've got staff here who could probably speak to it. But it is a home that requires a sympathetic restoration. And so much of what they're doing there, if they could simply go to Home Depot and pick up some 2x4s, that'd be different. In many cases, they've got to get very specialized materials to try to accommodate what they had in 1930 odd year, whenever it was built. And that's what causes it to be a very expensive renovation.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for that backstory. The 400,000, is that the assessed number? Do we have a accurate assessment of that? Has that been essentially vetted in terms of what the overall cost will be? Could there be overruns of that? Is this 400,000 not to exceed in order for the repairs? And if so, what is the idea to make up what any potential shortfall would be on the repairs?
So my understanding, in terms of talking with staff and the bids and quotes that they've gotten from contractors on this, is that this is a not-to-exceed number. This is to ensure that not only it gets to its certificate of occupancy, but that it also gets to a place in which whoever might submit a proposal in the RFP process, who could have a great idea of the program and operate it, that everything we need from a funding standpoint is there for it at this point.
Okay. And that 200K would only be triggered from the city if the 200K private is raised?
If the $200,000 in private donations is raised, and if the RFP process goes satisfactorily, it would be up to this governing body after the RFP process is done, and we've not gotten to the point of designing what that looks like. So this isn't something that's happening anytime soon. But what this does do is give a bit of confidence to the process, that there's some people who want to go begin fundraising on this, but they know it's going to be hard to fundraise private dollars without some public dollars sort of there to match it. It's also going to be hard to execute an RFP process, and that you'd be attracting folks to say, help us program something. Most folks would go and look and say, well, the house is sort of in a place where it's not ready for that. But this would give a little bit of confidence to that process.
If there were more private funds than the 200,000 raised, would that then count, that would then lessen the amount that the city would have to put in?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if someone wants to write a $400,000 check, we'll gladly go ahead and take that right now.
Put that on me.
Let's go Councilmember Cook and then Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
I was wondering if you could clarify, will the city still own the property after we find someone to do the programming, and then we'll just have an operator agreement with someone, or would we confer the ownership at that point?
That is a fantastic question. I think the best way to answer that is that the RFP process will be able to detail what the steps would look like there, where this governing body, along with partners who we may deem to be a part of that RFP process, can figure out what we think is the best path forward. I've not heard anyone at this point make the case for why the city shouldn't still own it. However, what the case has been made is that it shouldn't be on the taxpayers' back to continue to fund ongoing maintenance. So the RFP process would likely include having a respondent who could not only program and operate the house, but would have a method for revenue generation that could sustain the home.
Thank you.
Let's go Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
Mayor, thank you. How far through the process are we on that operational part?
In terms of the RFP?
Let's say in a year you've got let's say in a year you've got the funds, you make the repairs. What's the vision of the group behind the operation of the return to this? Because I know, and I'm not trying to be funny, but, master musician, legend, but North Carolina and Ohio have this kind of little fight over the Wright brothers. And I know that there's another state that kind of claims Coltrane as well, and is that Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, yeah.
There's Philadelphia.
The New York house as well.
And the New York house.
Yeah, so that just shows the magnitude of that man and his career. But I don't know, in those properties, if they're, my understanding, I think the one in Philadelphia has ended up in the private sector at this point. I don't think it's any longer in the government piece. Do we have a vision plan for what we'd hope to see?
So best way I can answer that is several years ago, community came together in the form of a charrette where folks could give their input on what they thought the property's best use should be. A lot of great ideas surfaced from that. What it came down to is how do you actually activate on many of those ideas? And so I could see a process in which the RFP lays that out, that says here's what the community has said. But the RFP can also ask for other ideas that maybe haven't been considered based on what we see in Philadelphia and in New York. I think staff is going to look from a very wide range of examples here in terms of putting together a great RFP. And it's going to still leverage and lean on community to make sure that this happens. The good thing about all of this is that this group, even though we would be making the commitment for $200,000 right now, we don't have to, that isn't a carte blanche in terms of release of $200,000. If the RFP process, based on this group's judgment, is not satisfactory, then we could very well rescind that. And so the good thing there is that if we feel like there's still some things to navigate in terms of making sure that there is a great program and plan that does feel sustainable, and what we get back in terms of proposals in that process doesn't yield that, then we can flat out say it and say we want to put the RFP back out again, or we want to rescind the $200,000. But what the $200,000 commitment does is it says that we are interested in seeing this home move forward in some kind of meaningful way, given that the right conditions are met. I just want to check because I haven't looked this way. Councilmember Harmon.
Yeah, I got a few questions. So staff would be doing the RFP, correct?
Staff would be doing the RFP, but staff has mentioned being open to listening to community members and working with the community. If, for example, we advise that we think there should be some kind of committee that would advise on that, we could absolutely do that. But at this point, the main folks carrying water and putting together an RFP would be staff.
And so who would be deciding? We get these proposals in, is the council deciding who the operator would be? Is staff recommending to council? And then related to that, I mean, I'm just worried about, I'm supportive of this idea, but I'm worried about the process. I mean, because if we got the money and then we don't find a viable operator, then the house is fixed and it's going to sit there with no viable operator. I mean, so the cart before the horse kind of a thing?
No, the house wouldn't be fixed without a viable operator. So keep in mind, our $200,000 doesn't get released if the RFP process is not handled in a satisfactory way, which means the RFP process lands the operator. So there is no scenario here in which renovations and money is spent if we don't have the long-term programming and operator in place.
But it might be hard for them to raise the private dollars if it sounds like the city's wishy-washy, right? I mean, it's like, well, you do all these things and maybe we'll give some money. Like I said, I'm very supportive of this idea. I mean, the city put in money toward the Sensory Garden and it was 80% privately raised or whatever that figure was. So it's not like there's not another example of the city putting in to make something good. So I'm just worried about the process of communicating all that. I mean, speaking as a funder, right, my day job's a funder. I mean, I might have some reticence to, I mean, you would just be getting commitments from funders. Nobody would be actually writing a check to Preservation Society,
Agreed.
right? So,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's fairly complicated. It could be. So.
agreed.
Mr. Mayor,
Hold on, I want to get Councilmember Johnson.
So, and obviously I support this, but so who, obviously we're going to be doing public and private funding to get this done. Do we have an organization or somebody in mind who's going to, I guess, spearhead the private funding?
In terms of raising the dollars?
Yes.
We've got partners who we've met with who have agreed to help us raise those dollars. You'll note that partners who have helped us in the past with this home include the High Point Preservation Society. In a meeting held with them, we asked if they'd be willing to help us in terms of raising those dollars, and the majority of the group was very positive about it and said that they'd be willing to help us in terms of meeting that $200,000 mark.
Okay. So once again, if that is not met.
No public dollars.
All
Yep.
right, perfect. Thank you.
Councilmember Holmes.
Yeah, I was, just wanted to circle back on the cost of the repairs. It will take all 400,000 to get to the point of even getting the CO?
No, and thank you for that point of clarification. There is a number there that staff has that tells us that if you get to a CO, it isn't exactly at the point of attracting a legitimate operator or programmer for the house. And so to get to that CO, there is a lower number in there. And that was the first thing that I asked about. I said, how do we get to CO? And as that number got shared, they said, but we just have to caution you, even, and this wasn't just staff, contractors were saying this too. Getting to that CO, it just doesn't look like you're gonna get a good operator in there,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay, that clears it up. I was looking at that, and it's like 400,000 just to even get to CO. It looks like that is, you know, a really big project that, I mean, that still may have some bugs that even may exceed the 400K
Yep.
to get to operator level. So thank you for that clarification, Mr.
And now I'll add a quick note just to your question there, because I thought it was a really good one. Staff, in terms of setting this number, this is the number that they feel very confident they're not coming back to council for. So this is a number that is a ceiling. There's a great chance that they don't hit that.
Okay.
So there's a number of scenarios here in which we don't even have to spend 400,000 on it. There's a scenario here in which private donations far exceed the public. But there's not been movement on this home in quite some time. And we've brainstormed and gone back and forth and researched and figured out as much as we could to figure how do we get it to next steps. This is the best bet we could get that could safeguard taxpayer dollars to ensure that, again, nothing gets built and you don't have some operator, or you're in a situation where it's purely on the burden of taxpayers. And we can make sure, again, we're not here to rush the RFP process. What I made very clear is that we're here to make sure that we get it done right, but to give it some amount of confidence and even some teeth. There's precedent for public funding being set aside to commit as long as private dollars can be commit, and there can be other conditions in there. And if those conditions are not met, we're gonna scrutinize and we're gonna do our job, which is to be very critical, which I appreciate the questions and discussion this evening. Councilmember Cook?
So the money that we are committing will only be used in repairs. Is the design already completed, or will we be going through another design process? Because my understanding is the previous dollars were spent towards the design process. And so I'm trying to understand, is that design what we're basing it off of, or will that be another element that will be addressed here?
Correct. To my understanding, the design process was done in the previous phase.
Okay.
There was an architect on board. There had to be a big study done because of so much that happened to that house to understand some things, and then there was design process done in that as well.
Mr. Mayor, one other question. I think for the benefit of our citizens and taxpayers, is there a way to speak to the cost-benefit analysis of what this property does for our city in terms of tourism, in terms of our city impact, revenue generation? What makes the ROI on this make sense? I think if we could speak to that, I think that would help the taxpayers understand this potential investment.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Holmes. I could tell you several years ago, in 2019, when the historical marker was unveiled, that was led by Phyllis Bridges as a private citizen. And former Mayor Jay Wagner was there, several other council members were there, a number of city staff and community leaders. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, the Friday of the Coltrane Festival.
Correct. Yep.
And that entire block was packed out with folks, hundreds of folks there to witness it, excited. And we had done nothing to the house. We were just putting a pole, forgive me, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but a pole with a marker on it in front of the house. And there was excitement purely just about that. Since then, the private group that has helped support the city when it comes to that house has fielded all types of visits and tours from folks, jazz legends, and we don't always broadcast it because those folks like to keep it private and quiet, but jazz legends who say, hey, can I just walk in and stand in the house by myself for 5 minutes? There is such an appeal to it. I'm not the jazz aficionado, maybe Patrick Harmon is, but most folks would put Coltrane on the Mount Rushmore of jazz music legends. I think most folks would tell you he's probably the most famous high pointer. And every year we have a festival in its namesake that attracts thousands of folks and brings back an economic impact to our community. That's pretty significant, that we're all really, really proud of. We see this home as being an asset, but we recognize that it's one that has to be handled with delicacy. We have to do it right. That's why it's called the Blair Coltrane House, because it was actually built by his grandfather, Reverend Blair. But we want it to somehow be reminiscent of the essence of what that home meant for Coltrane. He grew up here in High Point. What that says to folks all over the world is that what we create in High Point changes the world. And I just think the ROI on that, based on the research we've seen from other places where you get these kinds of renovations done to historic sites like that, tells us that there's real opportunity. And if we want, we can ensure that within that RFP process, if there's further detailing we want to see in terms of potential economic impact, that we can make that a stipulation of the RFP process.
Thank you.
Where did we come up with the 50% number? Patrick, if I may deflect to you too as a funder, and get requests often, are you just as motivated by 25% public support, or what? What does it?
Yeah, I don't know if there's been a scientific study on that. But yeah, being first in is a big thing. I mean, when other funders, I mean, that's something our foundation has done. We've been first in on a lot of things, and people come in later. So the city being first in is a big deal. I mean, the percent, I don't know if that really matters enough. I mean, if it was really small, then it would matter. If it was like, oh, the city, we're doing 3%, that wouldn't encourage me to donate as a funder, you know. It's definitely north of 25%, sure. But the Preservation Society is a group of all volunteers too, so it's not like, you know, it's a big organization to be out there fundraising a lot of money.
We've been very blessed, and I know that hopefully even some outside dollars, you know, they don't all have to come from local on something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's
Not an
national
international
interest in this sort of
person
thing, for sure.
But I think the council always tries to be good stewards of the money, and I think that's what some of this discussion and questions have been about up here. So I just kind of felt like with an international flair, they very well may be able to come up with 75% of the 400. So just a thought to throw out there.
That's a great point. Part of a comment for this discussion too is noting the timing of it. We thought it significant with Labor Day being 2 weeks away. You've got your festival in 2 weeks. And the hope is that we know some folks who are putting on the festival who might help us while at that event, just highlight and market that we have this opportunity. And from there, you can capture and capitalize on a captive audience and maybe raise some dollars off of that. So that's some part of this discussion, is also the timing too.
To that point, Mayor, is there a design of a potential capital campaign that could be launched during the festival where people could donate in real time?
I can't speak for the festival folks, but, I mean, do you want to speak to that, Councilmember Harmon, since you're here?
I mean, I guess the Preservation Society will be coming up with that. I mean, it's tight. I mean, things are kind of hectic this close to the festival. But certainly the Preservation Society will be out there, then get them on stage and that sort of stuff to talk about it. But it is a tight turnaround.
Also told the Preservation Society I would help them in terms of making appeals to private donors too.
Right.
So I just want to be clear that in terms of this idea, I'm willing to put some of my own social capital on the line to ensure that we can raise the money from private donors. Any other questions or?
I'm more comfortable as we get stronger protections for public dollars and encourage private donations as much as possible.
Is there any amendment you make to the current?
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember McKeever.
Did I hear you say that it was a historic site?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't it require you to rebuild a house, build it the way it was on the outside? The inside can be different. So I just wonder, this money they offer now, we'll be able to do all that and find certain things, because I know they want things to be a certain way, it's, guaranteed. And so my question is $200,000, can we do that and find the right kind of equipment to build outside the house?
Yeah, no, your question's spot on. That's part of the discussion. I mean, if you look at the size of the home, and if you're just comparing it to any other house, you say you don't need that much money to renovate a house of that size for someone to live in. But a house that does have a historic designation with protections requires that if you're going to restore it, you have to do it a certain way. You have to get certain materials put on there a certain way. And it's, to your point, it isn't something that you just go and find, at your average hardware store. And so to that fact, we did ask staff to look and double check and confer with experts on it, and they feel very confident. Again, that 200,000, 200,000, 400,000 being the ceiling, that's a number where they're not coming back to us for funding, because that'll be enough.
Okay.
Any other questions? Let me just ask this, is there a readiness this evening?
I'm fine with voting on it tonight. I think that the RFP process is going to be kind of arduous and very, very detailed. I've stated publicly, there's been a new form of business that's transpired over the last 15, 20 years, in my opinion, and my experience personally. And there's more and more discussions and verbiage around public-private partnerships than there ever was 30, 40 years ago. Whether I like that or not is a totally separate discussion from the fact that that's where we are. So I don't have a problem going forward with it. I would just encourage that process be thorough, and I do trust our staff very much. I think if they've set that as the number that we need to be at, then I don't have a problem with that. And then knowing that the process goes forward, those of you that are involved in it, I hope you'll follow through on your stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and hopefully you will raise more than the $200,000 that's being requested, and the city won't end up going that far. But all that happens at this point is that this money is set aside, and doesn't move forward. But this would also, as was brought up, with a timing issue, allow some public discussion and opportunities to talk to some prominent folks that come into town for the Coal Train Festival. And for those of you that haven't gone out there, whether that's not your thing, or that your schedule hasn't worked out or whatever, it is quite an event, and we put a big investment into it, and hopefully we'll have good weather, and it'll draw a big crowd like it usually does. But I think if the opportunity is there, and it's the will of this council, which I think it is the majority of this council, I'll call a motion, call a vote.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Thank y'all. Before we officially adjourn, are there any announcements from the dais?
I have a couple, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Harmon?
I actually wrote them down tonight, but you've already talked about the Coal Train Festival. Yeah, pray for no rain. Just recently, we just provided some funding to the UNCG eviction mediation folks. And this is a story about that. I had a constituent called me about a month ago, was under threat of eviction, having trouble with the landlord, and I told her to go to the UNCG folks to get, see if they could work something out, and they did, which makes me feel good about the money we just allocated to UNCG. There were some other issues apparently with the property, but that's just a great example of how the city can have a positive impact with a little bit of money for a program that really works. The downside is that they no longer live in High Point, so they are in the Triad. I just thought that was a really cool story. It's nice to be able to help somebody but also makes it feel good about the vote we just did. So thanks, Councilmember Cook, for your advocacy.
Thank you. Any other announcements from the dais?
I'd just like to say that I noticed, I was out this weekend at several things, socially and in the stores and whatever, and it's been a long time High Pointer, back when we had High Point College and now the university. It's palpable and noticeable, the energy and the difference in the town and the feel with the students and the parents and the excitement coming back into town. And I think we're very fortunate for what they've created at HPU. And just like we try to be good hosts and advocates for our furniture market when those people are in town, I hope everybody will share some southern hospitalities with all them northerners coming down here to go to school. But I did see a lot of northern license plates, and that's just an offhanded joke, guys. We're glad that they come from anywhere and everywhere, and they built quite an incredible thing over there at that university, and I'm very proud of it, and I think we all should be, so extend a nice hand to all those folks.
Mr. Mayor, this weekend, we had an international food festival. I'm a lover of food. All of you have seen me. And it was well attended. It was well put together. We are very quickly becoming a festival destination. And what that means is the opportunity for a diverse crowd of people to come together around common joys and loves, to be able to invest and see the greatness that High Point is aspiring to. So if you didn't have a chance to attend Savor High Point, it was really, really well put together. There were demonstrations of cultural dances and things that allow us to connect and really play into our international city designation, and I think it was well done. Second point, for those of you who are lovers of jazz and who do attend the Coltrane Festival, this year we're doing something a little bit different. Snarky Puppy, who will be performing at the festival, please look them up. I guarantee you that you will enjoy them. They're going to be conducting a master class at the High Point Theater. Now, if you've never been to a master class, it's essentially an ideation session of music. So you have composers there, you have musicians there, you have all types of people there who create music. And at that space, you get a chance to come in and create alongside them. If you've never been to one, please, you do yourself a favor and go to a master class. Tickets are online right now. And I really, really encourage you all to attend this, and then in conjunction with the festival itself, you will get the maximum experience out of that.
Thank you. Councilmember Holmes.
I just have one quick one. On September 23rd, Every Baby Guilford is hosting a community input session and planning session for their next cycle. And if you don't know, Every Baby Guilford helps to improve outcomes for mothers and babies in Guilford County. So this is actually going to be held at Borough Mill Park from 9 to 11:30 on September 23rd. I just recently joined the working group, and I'm really proud to have been a part of this moving forward into the next stage of their planning process. And this is something that I care a lot about as a mom and as a member of this community, and being able to bring women's issues to the forefront. So I would really love if we could have some High Point representation that day so that our community can be represented. And as we know, that maternal health is different among different races. And so we want to make sure that we represent some of the voices that might not always be heard in the community. So again, that's September 23rd from 9 to 11:30, and tickets and the registration is available on Eventbrite. So you can just search that, Every Baby Guilford.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook. Any other announcements from the dais? We'd like to ensure everyone's aware that we won't have another council meeting until Monday, September 22nd. So just want everyone to be aware, our schedule is a little different in September in light of the Labor Day holiday. So we won't have another meeting until September 22nd. If you've got any questions, feel free to call our team here. The number to City Hall is 336-883-3111. You'll reach the customer service line. You can always reach out to any one of us members on council, and we're glad to speak with you about that. Also, as a city that is always committed to working together to serve our neighbors, there's a huge food drive that United Way is undertaking. They always undertake it around this time of year, between now and the beginning of September. And so if you can find it where you can contribute to that, we always encourage and ask folks to participate in that food drive as we help some of our neighbors address food insecurity. If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's been made by Councilmember Holmes, second by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, we are adjourned.
Are you working with Calvin Foster?